Now, clearly, one of the greatest arguments that atheists like to make against the existence of God is that, well, with all of the evil and suffering in this world, where is your alleged God? And to be honest, it was this argument more than any other that convinced me to briefly become an atheist. But what if I were to tell you that it's actually a bad argument to make? So please watch this short video all the way to the end to find out why. Hey everyone, this is Mark Leeming from Segue to Reason, where you can learn right now things that have often, well, taken me many years to learn myself. Now, I've already shared in a few previous episodes of how after growing up in a Christian home, going off to Bible college, and being involved in short-term missionary work, that I eventually turned my back on all of that and briefly became an atheist. Now, as with most things in life, there were various reasons, but certainly the biggest reason being the issue of evil and suffering. And ironically, that was a result of what I saw and experienced as a short-term missionary in the developing world. Because you see, I ventured into the places where the tourists didn't go. And as in the case, I think, with most Westerners who have ever done that, it's easy to become plagued with Western guilt. I mean, why was I lucky enough to be born in such a great country as modern-day Canada? Now, while I do believe that atheism was something that I simply needed to experience firsthand for myself, namely to discover that evil and suffering is far more problematic for the atheist than the theist, nevertheless, I do wish that someone had informed me prior to all of that evil and suffering cannot be used as an argument against God's existence. Okay, here's what I mean. When people say that God cannot exist in the face of evil and suffering, what they're really implying is that, well, an all-loving and all-caring God cannot exist. But for argument's sake, and hear me out on this, does God really have to be all-loving and all-caring in order to exist, in order to create this universe? For example, there have been many scientists, both past and present, who would acknowledge some sort of God, some sort of creator, some sort of prime mover who created the universe. Nevertheless, they wouldn't necessarily go one step further and acknowledge him as being personal, all-loving, and all-caring. And that was a view taken by one of the greatest atheists of the 20th century, Sir Anthony Flew, who, towards the end of his life, acknowledged that, based upon all the latest scientific research, he could no longer intellectually be an atheist. Nevertheless, as far as I know anyway, he never did take that final step and acknowledge a personal, all-loving, and caring God. Or another view of God would be that of a famous French poet in the 1800s who famously penned that, well, if there is a God, he must be the devil. So the question is not, can God exist in the face of evil and suffering, but rather, can a personal, all-loving, and caring God exist, such as the God of the Bible, the God of Christianity? And that's a very difficult question to answer, isn't it? And that's why last year I produced a 3-part series called Why Does God Allow Evil and Suffering? And I'll provide links to those in just a few seconds. But let me conclude by saying that at this time of the year, as many church kids are heading off to college and university, some for the first time, they will be confronted with questions such as this. Will they know how to answer? Will they even know that you can't disprove God's existence because of evil and suffering? So why not share this video with the youth of your church? And if you're a parent of a college or university student, then why not sit down with them, watch this video, as well as my attempt to explain why God allows evil and suffering, the 3-part series, the links provided up above right now. Now, in next week's video, I'm going to attempt to tackle another thorny issue. Was the God of the Old Testament compassionate? You won't want to miss that, so please hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next Thursday.